السلام حياة قد جاء في القرآن أن السلام.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to iTREND on ITV. I'm your host, Zaheerah Bham-Ismail. Alhamdulillah, this blessed month has passed by, unfortunately, very, very fast. But I'm hoping that inshallah we've taken many blessings from it and many lessons that we've learned over the last few weeks. Tomorrow, inshallah, will be our Eid celebration. But there's still so much to do. There's so much trending. We've taken so many of your comments, your feedback, things that you wanted to see on the show. And we hope that if we haven't been able to give it to you during this month of Ramadan, you will be seeing more of those guests that you've recommended throughout the season. So please do stay tuned. Today in studio with me is the fabulous and very fashion savvy Khatoon Moosa from Love Fashion KM. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the studio.
Assalamu alaikum, Zaheerah. Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. Khatoon, you've always been somebody that grew up around us, that was always very fashion savvy, who was always almost ahead of the trend. How did your love for fashion begin?
So basically, I started my first collection in 2013. I'm the head designer of Love Fashion KM. And when it came to abayas, I was always looking for something that was fashion forward and chic yet modest. And I realized that there was a gap in the market. So together with my background and degree in fashion design and marketing and the support of my mom and dad, I said, okay, let me do this. Take the leap of faith, put pencil to pad. And a few months later, I launched my first collection, which was the Eid Adha 2013 collection. And I wanted to create a label where women felt amazing and they could still stand out yet be modest at the same time. So I'm happy and I hope that my brand has created this to give this fashionable approach to abayas.
I think the one thing that Roshan Isaacs had once said to me from the Islamic Fashion Council, she said to me that when you look at someone's brand, you need to be able to automatically identify that as being somebody's brand. That's how you know they've established themselves. And that's one thing we always pick up with your brand. It's always, it stands out on its own. It doesn't just follow everything else. It's always simple but elegant, classy and chic at the same time. How do you actually go about making sure you're always staying true to who you are, true to your brand, but still staying ahead of the game?
So basically, when it comes to trend, I don't really buy into like current trends as per se. I'll draw inspiration from my surroundings, my travels, or where I am at that point in my life. So you'll see like through all my current collections and my previous collections, the metamorphosis from my first collection to now. When I first started, everything was very youthful, fun, bright. And as I've grown as a person and as a business, my collection has matured over time as well.
Absolutely, and I think that's very evident, but at the same time you've maintained your authenticity, so we can see it's truly who you are as well. How much fun is it putting out these collections? Because the one thing that I absolutely love when I attend your events is you're always surrounded by friends, by family, by people who are so supportive of it. But how much fun, or how much fun do you have in putting these collections out?
So it's quite fun. Like I go around sourcing fabrics. Like if I look at my current collection now, the Ramadan Eid collection, I drew inspiration from my recent travels to India. So I envisioned like this modern day Oriental Express. So rich, luxurious fabrics, capes, Oriental trimmings and collection. I said, okay, let me take into consideration the current seasons. So I used a lot of velvets and deep jewel tones.
And that's exactly what stood out so much, is because when we looked at the collection, it just looked regal. It looked like it was something made for royalty and yet not too overdone.
Yeah, just a little bit of glamour, but still simple, modest, classy. And when someone purchases a Love Fashion KM abaya, I want it to be wearable so it can be used season after season.
That's it. When you started your brand, I mean, you said you started just in 2013, which is not too long ago. And you probably in a South African market where there are so many other people who are doing the same business. How difficult was it to find your niche, to stand out as your own brand and to last this long?
Okay, so like everyone else, I did face challenges on the way, but I managed to navigate myself through it with support of family, friends. And I think the biggest challenge for me was finding the balance between Love Fashion KM and Khatoon. Because I used to stress a bit because I found my designs were a representation of my personal style. So I would worry like, will it appeal to the bigger market? But yeah, alhamdulillah, it has, and it's been a success.
Fantastic, alhamdulillah. I know when you initially started, you had a blog that you had initially started blogging about fashion, and that's when we first started seeing your style coming out, where you were telling us, you know, what goes with what fabrics are trending at the moment. Has this been something you've always been passionate about?
Yeah, I think so. As a young girl, always dressing up in my mother's closet, and yeah.
Always fun.
Always fun.
What made you do the transition? As someone who's young, we see so many bloggers online, and the one thing that I have to ask you is, what made you do the transition to say that you wanted to do it in modest fashion? You wanted to go down the abaya route, instead of just saying, I'll stick to whatever's trending, whatever fashion is out there for anybody to use.
Okay, because normally when you think of an abaya, you think of this religious garment. But when I want to create a Love Fashion KM piece, I don't want it to just be a garment. I want women to feel confident when they wear it, and I put a little bit of idea and a piece of me in it. So like, I always follow this quote that Vera Wang always said, I want people to see the dress but focus on the person.
And I think you do that fantastically well, because everybody still gets to be who they are and they're not drowning in that outfit, which is wonderful.
Yeah, so just to feel confident, stylish, stand out. So yeah.
I think you've got that right. Khatoon, I have to ask you, when you spoke about your degree, for many people who are watching who feel this would be something they'd go into, what would be your advice in terms of what would be the degree you advise them to follow? Is it just because anybody who's got a creative sense, or what would your advice be?
So if there's something you want to do, go out there and do it. If you have passion and your love for fashion and design, anything's possible. You can face any challenges along the way. So when it came to my business, I thought that my passion, love for fashion, and a little bit of business acumen, because I studied marketing as well, and you'll be just fine.
And I think that's the part we miss out on, is the business acumen, because very often we get into businesses not realizing that there may be pitfalls along the way and not being able to foresee anything. And I suppose the business acumen has stood a long way in making sure the brand thrives.
Yes, that's correct.
So, what has been the most difficult things in terms of being an entrepreneur, a female entrepreneur in this market, and getting out there? What would be the difficulties that you've encountered that you think viewers should be aware of?
So there are challenges, and if you think of current now, there's so many people in the abaya business. But if you're unique and true to yourself, I think you can.
You'll have your space.
Yes, true.
Absolutely. In terms of you changing your seasons, how often in the year would we be able to see a new range that comes from you?
So I currently always launch a collection for both Eids, Ramadan, and normally towards end of the year I have like a spring-summer collection or like a bridal collection.
And the response from people in terms of what they see from you every year?
So the happy people have seen an improvement in my designs. Like I said, when I just started, everything was very young, youthful. I think it appealed more to the youth because I was much younger then. But I've tested the market, I've seen what people want, and I've grown as an individual and as a business, and my designs also have matured, like I said.
And that's wonderful, because I think the reach has been phenomenal. In terms of using social media for your marketing, do you think that has had an impact? Because very often many businesses feel that, you know, not many people will know about them, but the moment they hit onto social media, people find out about them, people are able to access their goods. Has that been something that's been effective for you?
Yeah, so as a business, Love Fashion KM relies solely on social media. It's where I communicate with my clients, and I can showcase current collections, when I'll be launching my new collections, sale events, the services that I offer, and so on.
And taking this online?
So I currently do have a website where I just have my collection, images and prices, but I haven't yet launched, so I'm working on that to launch an online store. But I do offer a service where I have a courier service, and within South Africa I don't charge for courier to clients.
Which is fantastic. So you're making shopping very easy for all of us out there.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. When we come back after the ad break, we continue speaking about trends in the modest fashion brand. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back after the ad break. We're speaking to Khatoon Moosa from Love Fashion KM, all about modest businesses, fashion trends, and how to actually take ourselves as entrepreneurs and put ourselves into a different space where we become established brands. So for many of you out there who are wondering how to take that leap, here we go. Your answers are here today. Khatoon, we were talking about your brand, how much you've worked to establish yourself at this point. One of the things that also came up was that you were featured in an international magazine. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so it was the following year in 2014. I did a shoot, a desert shoot actually, with Lighthouse Studio, a company in Dubai. And with the help and advice of a family friend who's also an established designer in Dubai, Abir al-Suwaidi, we did a collaboration, and yeah, basically from there.
It was fantastic, and it was so wonderful to see a South African featured in an international magazine, because that was literally setting strides for so many others to follow as well. Tell us a little bit about your international collaborations. Why collaborate? Why bring in another brand?
So basically, I was young. I just started in the business, and advice and help is something we always need from everywhere. We need the support. And Abir al-Suwaidi is an established brand in Dubai. I wanted to bring in something different to South Africa, not just only me, but yeah. And when I looked at her company, basically what she does is she in-houses all different designers, not only herself. So everyone draws inspiration from each other, and yeah, with the support and help of friends and designers, you can get far.
But that's amazing that you had the insight to be able to see that from early on and to be able to take that on, because I think that shows so much of wisdom to be able to say, I'm bringing in more, it won't affect my brand, it'll actually enhance my brand. Whereas people often think if they're sharing their space, it takes away from who they are.
Yeah, it really does. It really did enhance my brand, and I really learned a lot from her.
Which is fantastic. And I think you've got to have the right mentors in the right places to help your own business grow as well.
Yes, you're right.
Who are the mentors or the people, besides the one obviously that you've mentioned, who are the mentors that you look up to, that were people that you see as being in the fast track of this industry?
So if we look at abayas at current, it's not just, like I said earlier, this religious garment, black dress. It also has a history behind it, culture behind it. But if we look at the global trends now, modest fashion has become a hit.
Yes.
It's everywhere. Look at designers like Dolce & Gabbana, for example. They have a line just of abayas.
You're absolutely right. You know, you're mentioning now about this global phenomenon of modest fashion, and it's literally taken the world by storm. We know it's a huge market. Financially, it's a huge market for people. Why do you think people have been so open to the modest fashion? And the reason I always call it modest fashion and not religious or anything, because it's not just for Muslim women. It's women across all religions, women who also just choose to be dressed modestly.
Yes, you're right. And I feel sometimes when you're in abaya, you feel beautiful, feminine, soft, graceful, and yeah, so you admire women who are confident in what they wear.
And we've seen non-Muslim women in your garments as well. How did you actually break into that market?
So I did a shoot with Leanne Lamini. She's a South African singer. So yeah, she loved it. For them, it's like this beautiful dress more than just an abaya.
And I think that's what's amazing, is that people are not just seeing it as religious, it's modest fashion.
Yeah, you're right.
Khatoon, I know, tell us a little bit about the trends for Eid. I know we spoke a little bit off camera about what modest fashion trends are trending for this Eid season and coming up Eid season as well. Tell us about what we're looking at the moment.
So a lot of jerseys, capes, woolen garments. So it brings in the current trends and fashion, oversized jumpers, jerseys. So I created a very like wrap over kimono robes in jerseys, deep tones. I didn't go with the traditional black. So I brought in a lot of chocolate browns, warm tones, capes. And because of my inspiration that I drew from this Oriental Express, all these rich tones and trimmings, accessories.
What for you has been the favorite part, or through your journey, what has stood out for you the most in terms of saying that this was something that was memorable for me?
I think just going around, sourcing these fabrics, putting the ideas together. My mom always accompanies me on all my trips, so it's fun, and yeah, seeing what my designs come out at the end, that's the best part.
Perfect. And I think, you know, what's fabulous is having such a family collaboration, having mums involved, having siblings involved. This also goes to show that, you know, having a supportive family background is truly what makes a successful business grow. Because, and I think you can attest to that, is that we can't do these things on our own.
That's true. That's true. With the help and support of family and friends, I've come far.
Absolutely. Khatoon, along your journey, and it's been an early journey, and yet you've made progressive inroads, you've done really well for yourself. We see a lot of ranges coming out from you that stand out so differently from everything else we see around us. Where do you see yourself growing from here?
So I want my business to grow, inshallah, from strength to strength. And inshallah, maybe I'll make it to Vogue one day.
You never know. I think you'll be setting those standards for modest fashion wear in Vogue as well. Your last advices for people who want to be involved in this industry?
So yeah, like I said, your passion, your drive, put your ideas to paper, and yeah, if you believe in yourself, you'll be fine.
Fantastic. I think, very often as entrepreneurs, as people who want to get into industries, we're so afraid to take that leap of faith. We're so afraid to say, this is something I could try, this is something I may be good at. But I think very often we're just afraid of being successful. We're afraid of our own strengths and our own greatness.
Yeah, that's true. And there will be pitfalls on the way, but find your way to navigate through it and everything will be okay.
So make sure we have good support systems, work our way through these pitfalls, and be willing to take those risks and chances.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Khatoon, it's been such a pleasure to have you on air. We've absolutely loved chatting to you.
Thank you, Zaheerah.
And we look forward to also having a look at your ranges, to see your journey and to see how you grow. Where are people, our viewers, able to follow you or find your information about you?
Okay, so my store is based in Pretoria, in Lodium, but they can view my collection online, www.lovefashionkm.com. I have an Instagram account as well and a Facebook page.
And I'm sure a whole lot of fun. I mean, I must say, before we come to the end of our segment, when I watch your Instagram accounts and I watch how much fun it is, I love the fact that there's always family members, there's always friends. It's very personal for you. And I think that comes out over and over again in the way you sell your brand.
Yeah, like one of my favorite shoots was, I did one with all my friends. We had the setting was like this little tea party. So yeah, it's fun. So
has your marketing strategy always been very specific to making it a family-orientated brand?
So not always. In the beginning, my first few shoots, I worked with modeling agencies. And yeah, so I tried out with friends, family members. The desert shoot that I had in Dubai, I featured in some of the pictures with the abayas. So yeah, so I tried to make it a bit fun as well.
So it changes all the time?
Yeah, I try to use a new face all the time.
And do you think as a brand, for many of the brands that are out there as well, should we be evolving on a regular basis and changing the way our strategy is and our outlook is? Or do you think stay always, if something works, just stick with it?
It's good. Change is always good. But if you're true to yourself and your brand, I think you'll be fine. And yeah, change is always good.
Fantastic. Shukran so much for sharing these insights with us. It's been such a pleasure. And like I said, we look forward to seeing your journey and catching up with you very soon.
Thank you, Zaheerah. Thank you for having me.
That's Khatoon Moosa from Love Fashion KM, a young brand that started in 2013 by a dynamic, fashion-savvy Khatoon Moosa, who's not only just taken modest fashion wear and replicated what we see everywhere else, but formed her own niche market and given us something that's simple yet elegant, chic and classy. And this is something that is so strongly associated with who she is as well. And I think, what stands out for me is we have such dynamic young people within our community who are willing to take chances, who are willing to put so much of themselves out there and make a success of it. And we all need to be supporting these initiatives to make sure that there are more entrepreneurs that grow. There are more proudly Muslim South Africans out there that are setting the standard, not just following the leads, but setting the standard so that when we see them in those international magazines, we can proudly claim them as our own. Shukran for joining us for this segment. Stay tuned. When we come back, we're discussing more Eid decor. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to iTREND. We're chatting to somebody who should have been on our show ages ago, Zakera Mitha, Rose Vines by Zakera, a phenomenal lady. And if you're following her on social media, is always coming up with something new, showing us different ways to make sure we have the beauty that's added to make it the perfect touch on our Eid tables, or any tables for that matter. Zakera, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. And I know we have so much to go through. So while we're going through that, I'm going to chat to you and just ask you a little bit about how did you actually start this business?
Okay, I started it by chance. As I was telling you before this, I have a degree in statistics. I've always been mathematical,
in nature, there's certain ratios that work, so it follows that you had to follow suit.
But I tell you, I've never even it never even came across my mind to do flowers. I was never one to appreciate. I've never given my mom a bouquet of roses. Which we haven't seen that in our house because we're all very academically inclined. Yeah. So I needed to give a gift to a friend of mine who had given birth. So I needed flowers to be done, and I asked one of my cousins, please tell me someone who can do this for me. So she says, why don't you just do it yourself? So I looked at her and I said, are you insane? How can I do this myself? So she came over and she showed me how to do it. And it was just struck me. So I took it and I played around with the flowers, and I realized, you know, it is something that calms me. And I think I can enjoy doing it. So I did a course, and here I am today.
And here we are, from statistics to flowers. And I think I always laugh because I always say, you know, we all end up starting one profession and doing completely another. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to follow your passion as well.
I think at this time in my life, when I had my kids and I married, to find something new, no one can really say that today because we're all stuck in a rut. So I found this now. So it's like something new for me. So it takes me all the time to step back and realize that, you know, this is from Allah. It's something that He's gifted me with, because I get to be excited every morning to do something different.
And you're always around people at the happiest of times. And
sometimes the saddest, I think what the joy that it gives me is like when a husband is fighting with a wife and he phone and say, please just go and give my wife this. And she'll open the door so upset, but when she sees these flowers, or when someone is in hospital and they're really sick and they get the flowers, you know, it changes the whole dynamic of the room. You can feel that energy is shifting, and I think that's what I receive.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about what you have in store for us in terms of flower decor.
Okay, with me, I love working with wood because I think it sets me apart a little bit from everyone else. Also, it gives me like a vehicle to do things I see other ladies doing, and then I can take it to another level for me or overseas trends. So it gives me a vehicle to do sometimes really outrageous things for people.
I love it.
So I did a breakfast setting. The only thing with breakfast is we have a lot of dishes on the table. So I thought a few flowers scattered. But for me, I like it to be in a complete line. So when your eye sees it, you don't miss. There's no gaps. Because I see in functions, when it's not an Indian function, they have food plated for them. So your flowers will be in that random spot, and it will always be the same. But with us, if you have big dishes in between, you lose your flowers completely. You don't see it. So you rather have it in a complete line and thin as possible. So like one tulip in a line.
I love it.
It'll make an impact.
Yes.
The thing with hydrangeas, everyone loves it. I really don't like working with hydrangeas. Very. So these were dying last night. So what you do to refresh a hydrangea is you take a bath of water and you drop ice in it, and you submerge the entire hydrangea in it, and until it refreshes. And also when you're putting it into your vases, the best thing to do is to slit. You slit the root.
Okay.
So that it absorbs water faster.
Brilliant. And so we've literally just cut the root
in half.
In half.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Not right to the top, but enough for the water to all go in, so it absorbs as much as possible. So it keeps it hydrated.
So anyone, that's a good tip, especially for someone like me who loves these flowers. But is that a tip that for anybody basically wanting to get their flowers today?
Yes.
Is that for any flowers or specifically for the hydrangeas?
Specifically for hydrangeas, because they need a lot of water all the time. So if you receive a bouquet, one that's potted with an oasis, sometimes they don't last at all.
Yeah.
You don't throw that away. You take out the hydrangea, slit it at the bottom, and then put it into a bath of ice water, refresh it, and put it back.
Fantastic.
It'll work. It should last a really long time, but if you don't know, you'll end up chucking it out. And it's an expensive flower.
That's it. That's it. But they're absolutely beautiful. And I love the fact that you've paired the colors and brought out the white also in the tulip, which is beautiful.
It's a morning fresh color. And then also the wood. So I basically got a wooden underplate here.
Yes.
And then if you have these things lying at home, you feel you cannot use it. But if you just spray it, I can use it at the next setting.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then I can respray blue again and put it back here. And you can carry on spraying it.
So these are very versatile and very easy because you can use them all round.
All round.
Perfect. I love it.
So it's a nice tool to keep, to change. because I mean you can't spray any plastic or anything that will look, you know, it'll have a shimmer on it. Yes. So you cannot do that.
And what's nice about the wood is that it's so versatile. You can use it a number of times over. As you said, it's a really classy look. It really just lends to a beautiful setting. Yes, and very different from the norm.
Thanks.
Perfect. And on this end.
Okay, so everyone knows how to use an oasis. The only trick in using an oasis is that when you put it in a bath, don't shove it down, because if you shove it into the water, you make air bubbles.
All right.
So when you put your flowers in, it will probably be in an air bubble and receive no water. So don't ever shove an oasis into the water. Let it sink in, and then you literally, everyone knows how to cut the roses and put it in. What I did here was give it a spray of gold. So remember, a flower spray is different from a normal spray.
Ah, there we go.
You need the flower spray so the rose doesn't die. But something like a greenery like this, you could use a normal spray. But if you use this on a rose, it's going to die very soon.
So make sure you know what you're using.
Flower spray.
Absolutely.
And then this is a hat box, which I went into a craft shop and I just bought material. And I literally covered it myself.
And I love that you've just tied a little tassel around it, and that just makes it elegant for your table.
You can do anything with things in your house. You just need to have an idea. Try it.
And put it together.
Why not?
Absolutely. And like you said, you know what? You lose nothing by trying. You just make sure it works.
And who doesn't have a hat box in their house? It's been trending like crazy. So I'm sure every house has a hat box.
And again, I love the fresh look. I love the green and the white. It just makes it all look very nice and welcoming for a morning.
Yes, it does. The emerald green, I think for an afternoon, this is an afternoon setting. I think for an afternoon, it's not dark and it's not very light for morning. I think it's going in now that emerald green is the color of the season.
Yes.
And I like it. I don't always follow the trends. Some of the trends I really don't like, but I love this color.
I love it as well. And tell us a little bit about, this is what you were talking about again with potting it in water.
This I just put it into water, and you can see it's dripping a little bit because I had it in a bath of water.
That's
so
beautiful.
Make sure if you have it in a bath of water, you let it dry out before you use it.
I still think it looks my favorite flower, so I think it looks magnificent. Again, just in terms of ladies who want to do this at home or want to put it together, what's your tip in terms of just making sure they have the right amount of green, the right amount of flowers to make it look, because it's very elegant to be able to just put out onto the table?
You need to try. I can't tell you there's a recipe for it. You need to see what works for you. Some people love greenery, some people hate greenery. They don't want greenery in their arrangements. They tell me that they don't want to see it. It just depends on your character. So play around with the flowers.
I love how all these creative people come on air and go, just play around.
It'll work. At the end of the day, it works because it shows your personality. It's who you are.
Yeah, I'm worried about what comes out on that. So are you always tying in flowers with the decor, with the color, with the settings that we have?
A lot of people say work down, so you choose your tablecloth and your cutlery first. I work the other way around because I see something I love and I want to use that type of arrangement. Yeah. So I work downwards. So for me, my flowers is my function.
It's beautiful. and I think most people agree, you know, I think we focus a lot, food and flowers.
Yeah.
The two things that need to be working, and then everything else will fit into place.
Flowers is something that everyone doesn't have the budget to do. So when you pay someone to do your flowers, you're not paying for the flower. You're paying for their skill and their hours that they're going to use for it. So if you can do it, why not? You know, I love drama, so that's why I use wood again in my arrangements. So if I took it out, it will literally look like roses with like grass coming out of it. So you need to use different objects or structures just to give it a little bit of a personality.
Where do you get your inspiration from? Where do you draw it? Because, I mean, you're saying here you've put the structure in, you've made it a little bit extra. I mean, most of us would say, okay, let's just put this together. The hat box is enough, and we put that onto the table. Where do you draw inspiration from and ideas from?
Well, you look at what everyone else is doing, first of all. Everyone does that. And then you see an idea that you like. And I go back and I start thinking, well, how can I mimic it, but take out my personality out of it? So I like drama in my flowers.
I love it.
So I love the flowers to be dramatic. So I would put something into, so when someone walks into the room, they can see my flowers, you know.
They'll know it's you.
But other people love simplicity, so they'll put just a tie a few roses together and put it into a vase, why not? Whatever works for you.
But that's what I was going to say, even just with the tulip wrapped around here with the leaf, it looks absolutely elegant and very simple but beautiful.
I literally just cut the bottom and shoved it in. It's a baby tulip, so you have all the green leaves in it.
I love it. We're going to be taking a very quick break. When we come back, we're going to be chatting more to our dramatic florist. Stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the last segment of iTrend. We're chatting to the very dynamic Zakera Mitha. There's no doubt when you get to chat to her off air, you realize why there's so much of passion and love in everything that she does, because the personality matches exactly what comes out. All the beauty and the grace and just the kindness and sincerity, it's all there. Alhamdulillah. Zakera, tell us a little bit about this.
Okay, so this is trending at the moment, the flowing arrangements, and this is a cheater's way of doing it. It's really simple. I know
okay,
no.
I said to Zakera when I saw this, when I realized how much of work goes into it, and I think we as a community never appreciate skills as much as we should, because when you hear how they actually do it, how much of time it takes, the amount of effort it takes, I think we miss that. So today she's going to make life a little bit easier for people like me and you out there if you're like me, and tell us the cheater's way of getting it done.
Well, I'm telling you how to do it so you can appreciate us doing it. Okay, so if I deconstruct, basically, I'm going to pull this out, sorry. It has hooks. Okay, it has hooks in it, right? I don't know if you can see it. There's a hook.
Perfect.
Right? And at the end, there's nothing.
Okay.
Right?
So any florist will be able to help you with that, giving you the oasis.
It's called a Garland Oasis.
Okay.
It comes 5 in a pack. Yeah. You soak it, like how I told you. You let it sink to the bottom. Literally take your greenery, cut it into short pieces. You need to have a proper scissor to do this.
There we go.
A nice sharp scissor, because you don't want to damage the roots. Well, greenery lasts very long. So you can literally start 2 days before, do this up, and then hang it.
Yeah. Okay, so there we go.
Okay, so you got this hanging, right? Another trick is if you want to elongate it, you can, if you can get the camera in, literally take a wire and join the oasis together. So you don't need to, I joined it. So you don't need to hook it to each other. You can hook it with anything that you have. So you can elongate it at the top. So you don't use, well, this oasis is a little expensive. You don't need to use so many. So you elongate it and then just cover with your greenery. And this is just like
florist wire that we're using? Perfect. So we're just basically putting the wire in between the two oases and elongating it so we have a longer oasis.
Yes.
Very clever. And then covering it up on the top so you don't get to see the sheet
at all. And then you don't need to put the roses in, but I went with a theme. So I got the baby orchids going in and the red roses. So you can just stick it randomly into your greenery. When you cover with greenery first, you don't need to use so much roses, because we normally use the expensive flowers in an expensive function to cover your oasis. And when you use greenery to cover, you can sparsely use your roses in, get your color out, but don't spend so much money. So greenery is inexpensive. I've used one bunch of penny gum, which costs about 40 bucks, and the oasis. So you'd have a flowing table arrangement for 100 Rand.
That's fantastic.
The size, obviously.
A quick tip, you mentioned the orchids.
Yes.
In terms of care of the orchids, because very often people gift it, it's something that we know lasts a while, but also if you don't know how to look after it.
Orchids are like babies. Okay, but this one, it lasts very long because you put it into water and it stays. It'll stay for weeks upon end. But the big, the orchids that are actually potted, that everyone seems to be using at the moment, which is driving me nuts because I can't see another orchid on anyone's table. Please do this arrangement this Eid.
Use your orchids.
So you need to talk to your orchids. You need to put it into a cool place. You don't need to overwater it. There's a specific care line to follow to let your orchids last longer. If someone gives it to you in arrangement, there's nothing much you can do with it. It's kind of a waste. So it'll last in put it in water, but not that long.
Not long.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Tell us a little bit about the beautiful red roses here.
So I'm a stockist of the Iluba Long Life roses, and this is they give you 6 months and more, they say. But everyone wants it covered. You get it in the Perspex boxes or the domes. You can literally buy the stems and do something like this. You get the long life greenery, you get the red roses, put it into a dry oasis, and you have an arrangement forever. And when you cover, you actually shortening the lifespan of these roses. So if you have it covered, open it. Every 2 weeks, just open it, let it breathe a little bit, and put it back. As long as it's not heated and no water, it stays out of the sunlight, it'll last forever. My niece has us for 3 years.
That's amazing. And that's actually quite a good tip for the long life roses, because I think many of us don't know that. We think it needs to be covered.
No, it doesn't need to be covered at all. And it irks me that everyone asks me, can I put it in a Perspex box? Okay, it's nice for gifting. But you can have such a beautiful arrangement in your house. Instead of using, a lot of people do not like artificial flowers, especially artificial roses, because you can see it from a mile away. So if you have an arrangement of that, it's quite expensive, but you must know it's there for a very long time. If you look after it, and then you can move it.
That's it. And I love the way you've put it together, the way it's standing. I was saying to Zakera, I actually need to know the trick behind this, because it just looks elegant.
It's I actually use a gadget to keep it standing. A lot of people use the pink artificial flower oasis. So they would cut a piece and they will glue it at the bottom and stick the rose in. For me, I find it a little untidy. I like my long life petals to be as if it's dropped from the rose. You know, it's not like in a heap.
What's beautiful.
It should be at the bottom. So I use something to, it's like a needle that I push up.
That's brilliant.
So it's standing straight.
And this, as we mentioned earlier off air, also would be perfect just for a buffet table, for a dessert table. You put this on its own and it's perfect. Sorted.
You can bring it from your entrance table to your dry area to anywhere, and it'll last long.
So you're making life very easy for us.
It is easy.
The long life roses are for us that are not quite sure how to put it together. We just take it and we put it there. It's done.
It's ready.
And like you said, you can also cut it. We're always so afraid of cutting these because we think, you know, something's going to go wrong.
The long life roses?
Yes.
Well, you use it exactly like how you use a fresh rose. Only with this, you should be very careful of touching it at the head, because it will break. It's treated. Right? So when you work with it, cut the stem. You can cut the stem. You can buy it in the short stems. I always keep medium stem. This is a medium stem. You get a longer one. But it's, and then you get the heads that differ. For me, the medium stem, medium head is cost efficient, and it's beautiful in a dome, because sometimes the really big ones just look artificial because it's too huge.
It's too much.
So when you take your rose, you cut it any way you'd like, except if it's on a stem, you would find a pin that's joined from the head to the stem. That's what's keeping it there. Sometimes with the 3-color or the 4-color ones that are coming out now, they do it by hand. So as soon as you start touching, you're going to interfere with all of the work that they've done, and it's going to literally unravel, and you don't want that to happen. So just be careful of the head. Other than that, it's like a normal rose.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Which is perfect. And I think also the idea of how to take care of these long life roses, which means that you don't just have something in your house for a week, you have it for ages.
Yes, you have it for long. Another lady told me that she had to throw hers away because she got so tired of looking at it. And then she ordered new ones. So it's nice,
What are we looking at when you're busy with flowers? Do you go in and choose what's trending? Or do we have flowers that are trending at the moment, or what's in season?
You know, everyone loves blush colors. For the last year, every wedding I've done, everyone asks for blush colors. And I don't think you should go with what's trending. I think you should go with what you like. I could have used blush colors against the gold because that's what everyone's using. But I love it. There's no character. I don't want my flowers to blend in. I want them to pop out, you know, because flowers makes your function. So when you walk into the wall, you need to see flowers.
It's the personality. Zakera, shukran so much for joining us on air. It's been such fun having you here. And I think it's exactly you, the way you've described your flowers as well. You just pop out there. It's this beautiful personality.
Thank you.
And it's been such a pleasure sharing the platform with you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
From modest fashion to trending flowers for Eid decors, and not just for Eid decor, for any table. There's no doubt I'm definitely going to be trying my hand at this. Zakera is convinced that I can do it. I'm not that sure, but we'll see how it goes. We have such phenomenal women in our community who are so willing to share so much of themselves. so much of their skills, their tips, their tricks, and so much of their own trade that they're willing to put out there for others to benefit from. And I'm so grateful for these women. We are so blessed to have them, and may we always be able to share of ourselves in our community. Shukran so much for joining us on air. From all of us at iTREND, we'd like to wish you and your family a blessed Eid Mubarak. Have a wonderful time with your family members. If you are traveling during this time, drive safely, come home safely. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us all, and remember us in your du'as. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.